Hello everyone and welcome to Moonride. I've been getting Harriet Tubman knocking on my door telling me she wants to talk. So I'll just check in here and see what she wants to talk about. Harriet, can you tell us your message? It's funny because it's a big roast beef dinner. It looks really delicious. She's sort of serving it up to me, and I kind of feel like, hey, enjoy this moment of justice. It might be kind of stressful to watch, but at the same time, watch this, watch what happens, and enjoy the fact that this is a spirited democracy. If you think of Harriet Tubman, do you think her life was easy? Do you think making her political decisions was a piece of cake? I mean, she puts us all to shame, right? So whatever stresses we're feeling, whatever things we're doing, they're pretty minimal compared to what she and others had to go through. This is not to put you down. It is just to understand that in the big picture of things, something politically is happening, and it's actually very rich and savory. So you don't need to look at this as a bad thing. Look at this whole process as a good thing. A process that shows you what diligence, hard work, success, sticking with the truth, what that really means. What the Constitution has that protects us, that is now working. Some things didn't work in the past, but now it's working. Notice how it actually took this crisis to make certain politicians wake up and actually get tough and start doing things instead of kicking back and playing their little political games. This is a very significant thing that is happening. She's like, yeah, meat. It's got the meat, it's got the potatoes, it's got the carrots. It's got everything that you want. You're living through a historic moment where justice reasserts itself. She's saying that where we can see it live on TV, which people couldn't really do in the past. We can watch these things happen, and it will give us a very clear understanding of what America really is about. And she's saying again, this sort of 61%, that's all you need. You're not going to convince 100% of Americans that Trump's a bad person. All you need is 60%, maybe 61%. That's all you need to really get rid of him and to make sure that we have a reasonable Congress in the future. So, don't worry that it's not perfect. No democracy runs perfectly. She's also pointing out a lot of other really good things that are happening. Communities forming, people making connections. There are people you've made connections with probably online or even face-to-face, which you never would have made if there was not this crisis. You might have bungled along and never known the potential of friendships that you have created. I see a lot of people holding hands in hands. They're all different colors. Everybody's, united. One thing that, maybe certain types of people wouldn't really unite if we were not facing a crisis. But one thing that we all agree on is that we're facing a crisis. And it's sort of like, well, maybe I disagree with you about the, baseball team that you like, but, that's fine. And then there's some degree of acceptance of we're different, and that's okay because we all believe in our nation and we all believe in justice. So when you're going through this stuff, it can be very stressful as you're watching news debate after news debate, as you're reading some ridiculous post from, some supposed Trump supporter. All that is just nonsense. It's a lot of money paid to go through these channels to present a certain point of view. How many people are being paid just to go into the comment section and repeat the same things over and over and over again? I mean, it seems like 100 people, but it's really just one person. This is all a big fat distraction. As much as you can, view it for what it is. And it's the goal is, we're pretty much there. I mean, the goal is to get X amount of people to support an impeachment. We're fairly close. It's already more than half Americans support it. So, and that is not just impeachment, but kicking him out of office. It's not just the process. Most American people want Trump out. And that is an amazing thing that has happened. So we're just trying to make those last 10 points. And as we haven't even got started yet. So it really is like, I think, in the bag that Trump will not be there. Now, that might sound really far fetched, but who would have believed a couple of months ago that we would have gotten this far? Hmm. And every day, the Republicans dawdle and play these games, and I should say Trump supporters. Every day they do that, that makes Americans more and more angry. And the anger that I feel in this regard, it's like I keep seeing a guy in a bar with a chair, and it's like a bar fight where he's ready to break the chair over somebody's head because he's so angry. And this isn't the crazy right wingers. These are just general normal Americans, who are getting angrier and angrier and angrier at the people who support Trump. Even if he isn't actually removed, it certainly is going to make a big difference at the ballot box. Are there any other points of light for us? Hmm. She's kind of pointing out, she said, one thing about the horrors of the South that I lived in is I moved on. I was able to escape. The good thing about it was that it was so terrible that I had to escape. So it compelled me to do something that, I didn't think I was capable of doing. And then once I did it, I was like, wow, I can do that. I can do that a couple of hundred more times. Um, in some ways, although it appears really negative and stuff, the fact that we have these dark forces means that we are responding. And as we're responding, we're becoming more powerful. We're starting to know who we are. We're starting to realize that we actually have powers you never imagined that you would have had before. Nobody took a look at Harriet Tubman and realized how incredibly powerful she was going to be. She was just a kid at some point, and people just brushed her aside as another oppressed victim of slavery. But look how powerful she became. And let that be a message for all of us in the face of what's going on here. If she could be that strong, we can be 10% that strong. If we can be honorable in our methods of removing this president in our own way, that is a little bit like her facing the injustice that she faced. So, whenever you're thinking you're losing your courage, remember these characters like Tubman. I mean, it's almost unmatchable. That doesn't mean that you have to live up to her standard. You're living in a different place in a different time. But if you do feel a little bit thwarted, remember her courage. Remember what she did, and it should give you courage, right? It shouldn't make you feel weaker or lesser. Let it give you some courage, and move forward. She's a legend because of what she did. You may not be a legend, but the work that you do is legendary. People will be talking about this time in history for hundreds of years, and your great-grandchildren will be looking at your messages and what you wrote about this, and they'll learn a lot about who those ancestors are, who those people lived at this time, and what they were like. One thing Tubman is pointing out is it's all out in the open. There were lots of good and bad people that she met, but you didn't necessarily know that. You didn't meet those people and know that they were on one side or the other. Now it's exposed. Everybody knows where everybody is. I keep seeing this circle. I keep seeing the circle of light. It all comes back around. This will all come back around. It will come back around to justice. It'll come back around to knowledge. It is a circle of light that extends through all of us that comes back around. And remember also that those who aren't really sharing the same points of view of us, they're also learning too. Whatever we might think of their views, they are learning in their own way. This doesn't mean we have to cop out. It just means that everybody's got a soul. You might not agree with these people. You might think that they're un-American or even traitors. But remember that they do have a soul. Do not be cruel, but go forth in strength. And I'm not saying you shouldn't boo Trump at the game. That is not illegal. It's not abuse. It's not an attack. There is nothing wrong with saying your point of view. But maybe you don't want to send that to a Trump supporter. They're already coming at this from a point of view of weakness. You're only going to make them more weak by attacking them. Just let them alone and do whatever they need to do. And be confident that justice will prevail. We all have our karma, and it will work out for everyone in their own way. It's funny because she's showing me a medal. It's a medal. I don't know if Harriet Tubman ever got a medal, but nobody forgets who she is. You might not be getting a medal, but your work will be remembered, if only by spirit, and it will be important regardless of who remembers it or how they remember it. And all of this is about you. All of this is about your evolving, your changing, your feelings, your fighting, your being in relationship with others. Ultimately, it comes down to every single individual person and their own actualization. Don't let stress or unhappiness or whatever get in the way of you becoming who you are. Even if that is under some duress, you becoming who you are is the goal. You evolving in time is the goal, and it is the success. Even if you make mistakes along the way, that's part of the goal, that's part of the success. So don't take any of this stuff too harshly. It's not something to get quite wrapped up in, as something to watch and know and bring that spirit of knowing into yourself. All right. Thanks for watching.